Hello, and welcome to our webinar on the Zebra OS migration. My name is Mariah Sandoval, and I am the marketing manager at Barcodes. We are excited to discuss the workforce mobility revolution that is already upon us. For organizations that fail to act, it will simply pass them by. For the pioneers, however, it is a welcome opportunity to take advantage of a transformation in mobile enterprise technology. The next generation of workforce mobility solutions will help organizations get more done, more quickly, for less money. Today, Kevin Lalick from Zebra is going to discuss details around this revolution and more specifically what Windows strategy is around mobile OS after 2020 and ways Zebra and Barcodes can help you with this transition. We do have a Q&A chat feature available on this webinar, so please feel free to write any questions and we will address these towards the end. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin. Kevin, it's all yours.
All right, thanks so much, Mariah, and thanks everybody for joining our webinar this morning or this afternoon, depending on which point of the nation you're in. So again, thanks for the introduction. I think it's a great topic and very timely these days for us to be able to talk to specifically around the migration and the strategies that we're seeing with our with what's going on in the markets these days. So with that, just a quick point of introduction. I am a regional manager here at Zebra. I've been with joined Zebra as part of the acquisition of their purchase the solutions business from Motorola. Been a long time member with Zebra Technologies. Actually started with Symbol back in 1989. So this evolution or this migration that we're seeing is very similar to migrations that we've seen in the past, especially when you look at the way mobile computing has been iterated over the years or over the generations. This isn't just another evolution. If you look at mobile computing for the last 10 or so years, it's been primarily based around Windows Mobile, Windows CE as a common operating system that's been delivered on those platforms. And back in 2000, I want to say 2004-ish, 2010-ish, the Microsoft kind of put a stake in the ground and said, we are no longer going to continue on this path of Windows Embedded or Windows CE. We're going to go with something new, that being Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. So it's been announced, and these dates are pretty much set in stone. In fact, if you look at the majority of the devices that are out there that are running these legacy platforms, mainstream support has already been retired. So if you do have any customers, primarily in military applications is where we see this the most, is that you have to have a chain of custodial support for all of the components within a solution that's provided. So knowing that the support for a component, the mobile component within a solution, support is retired, that causes concern for those organizations. So this well-traveled path of legacy is coming to an end. The big hope for the industry was that Microsoft was going to, in the way they've done over the years, is that they were going to have a path for customers to be able to migrate to the next generation of Microsoft something. But as of October of last year, it's pretty much been announced that Microsoft is not going to deliver a mobile platform. They basically, basically announced that the next generation of the Windows Mobile hardware, their phone platform, isn't going to continue on anymore. In fact, this article here, and just for your reference, the links that I've got here on these slides are all active. It'll take you directly to the article if you wanted to carry on a conversation with a customer about the direction that the market's going. So we started off with with a Microsoft architecture on the mobile devices. Our enterprise customers really went forward to adopt it. Microsoft pulled the plug on a go-forward strategy, which really caused the industry, and when I say the industry, it's not just Zebra, but Zebra and everybody else that makes rugged mobile computing platforms, to really look at what's available for us to be able to carry a rugged platform forward on, and the answer to that really is Android. Android being the only open source operating system that manufacturers can use in order to deliver everything that we've delivered over from a value perspective over the last 12 or 15 years, and delivering that on a new operating system. And when we think about the value components of rugged mobile computing platforms, it's battery life, it's durability, it's operation across temperature ranges, it's user replaceable batteries, and so on. So that's the important part that our enterprise customers recognize in providing devices that keep their workers productive and that withstand the rigors of their day-to-day operation as workflow tools. We know globally, when you look at mobile, what's really defining an end user's expectation of how mobile computing is supposed to work in our hands. Globally, about 85% of the global population has their experiences defined around Android. The other remaining 15% is really around iOS. When we look at it from a North America perspective, it's about half Android and half iOS. And it's a cool bar trick to to play in a meeting, and talk about those statistics, or talking about that in front of a customer, and you ask for a raise of hands, and sure enough, half the room is using an Android platform and the other half is using iOS. But the commonality there is that they're driving a set of expectations on icons and touchscreens and on-screen keyboards and launching things as apps. That's common. You can hand an iOS device to an Android user, they get how to use it. Likewise, you can hand an iOS device to an Android user, and they understand how to operate it. So there's that commonality, and this acceptance is really what's driving. It's really what's driving the capability of enterprises to be able to deliver applications that are more centric to the ways that end users expect technology to behave. We're seeing a big adoption and acceptance towards the use of Android or Google mobile services, the full consumer variant of Android, in a lot of these enterprises, because they are levering a lot of features such as push message notification, which in technical terms is referred to as Firebase Cloud Messaging. And they're also continuing to increase the number of features that they're putting in, the consumer variant of that, as well as dumbing down or taking some things out of the open source platform. That being said, at the end of the day, it gives us, as manufacturers in the industry, a common platform in order to be able to bring forward. So knowing a direction that the market's taking, and knowing that there are still a lot of our customers that are out there that are were sitting on the fence because they were hoping for the next big thing from Microsoft, knowing the fact that there is no next best thing from Microsoft. They're going to have to make a choice, because support for the platforms that they have these days is going to end. And I'll tell you some little talking points here in a little bit as far as how to get around that. But at the end of the day, it's a great opportunity in order to be able to have those refresh conversations with your customers. Knowing that we can put a platform in the hands of the users that doesn't require them to rethink the way they interact with that device every time they pick it up, that is more natural in the way that they expect mobile technology to behave in their hands, is a win. It's a definite improvement to productivity overall, and giving them something that they're used to working with, that allows them to lever ways of interacting with the application that's more familiar to them, has a direct positive impact on productivity overall, right? So at the end of the day, we are well positioned in order to be able to provide our customers that are thinking about migrating, in order to be able to get them on these new platforms and be able to give them a building block that they can start to lever additional features and functionality with, in order to be able to continue to add incremental improvements to their workflow overall. The big challenge for a lot of these customers when we look like outside of warehousing or outside of T&L, the majority of those applications are either web-based or terminal emulation, and there's real easy ways to get a terminal emulation app to, from their traditional way of doing things into an Android. We can give them like-for-like experience with an on-screen keyboard, but it gives us an opportunity to improve that. For those ones that have developed native applications, it takes a long time to develop those applications. But the good news is that there are a lot of ways for us to be able to help customers get beyond that or get past it. So, the challenge is that it takes a long time to write application from scratch. We know that our customers generally have limited budgets unless they're planning for a migration, to be able to to either staff up or to find developers to be able to bring those applications forward. We know that that there's some disparity between the direction that a lot of customers want to make, where they build their applications for iOS or whether they build them for Android. But there's some tremendous cross-platform tools that are out there that will allow us to create a singular application that will run on both platforms. And if you think about what Microsoft did in their purchase of Xamarin, they basically gave themselves a cross. So with that, in
Kevin, you broke up like the last 30 seconds. If you could just repeat what you said.
I'm sorry. Anyway, the talking about the movement of applications in moving from from the legacy way of doing things into what the next direction is. Customers now have a choice. Now they can take their applications and build them in a cross-platform manner to support both iOS and Apple devices. And we want to make sure that we have a path going forward as they migrate away from Windows 6.5 into something new, that they have a path forward to do that. And Microsoft made an investment. They purchased a company called Xamarin, which provided a cross-platform development environment as a plug-in to Visual Studio, which allowed people to use their .NET development skills and create applications for both iOS and Android. So now we have a common ecosystem in order to be able to deliver that. We have, as a service through you or enhancing your ability to deliver applications, we have capabilities to improve the user experience, to be able to take those applications that ran on the shadow devices in the background, think of them as the legacy devices, and providing that same functionality in a more modern Android environment. So we've got ways to do that. So as you're talking to your customers and moving them forward on these applications going forward, keep in the back of your mind that if customers need help, you have the tools in order to be able to do that. We can provide assistance when it comes to prototyping the user experience. If we wanted to draw wireframes and how the applications look and feel and what we can do in order to be able to move those forward, that's great. For a lot of the customers that are out there that you may be working with or selling into, a lot of those applications that they might be running might just be terminal emulation. Anybody who's running 9090 in a warehouse or a 9190 in a warehouse is more than likely running a terminal emulation application. And there are ways that we can not only give them like-for-like functionality, but also, position it in a way that gives them a very rich experience without having to change the back-end application. And while we're going through this prototyping process, we will look at the way they're running their application process and see if there's ways that we can eke out additional efficiencies in their workflow to do that. So there's a ton of things that we can do. For example, a retailer that we worked with, they had a lot of different devices that were running Windows Mobile. They had different applications in there and different ways of doing things, and we were able to take a look at their workflow and come up with new ways of doing things. Again, you can see the shadow device in the background and how we and how we were able to sketch out what the new application would look like and give them that like-for-like experience, but do it in such a way that it uses the native capabilities and native functionality of the new targeted devices that we were working with. You know, for example, taking away the physical keyboard at the bottom of the screen, we needed to make sure that they had either access to drop-downs and lookups, and be able to use the keyboard in such a way that it made sense to the application or sense to where they were at within the application itself. So we were able to do a lot of enhancements in that. And we were able to do it in a fraction of the time that would take to do a rewrite. And again, being able to modernize the user experience from the old way of doing things into something that makes more sense in a context of working within a more modern operating system or a more modern mobile operating environment. And you know, if anybody has done any work with some of the legacy devices, this is a very familiar screen here on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can see the way that we've simplified the overall look and feel and usability of the application. So, you know, we've got the ability to be able to help your customers down that path. At the end of the day, going to a modern user interface, a modern UI, really does drive measured business improvements. And we did a study within our warehouse in being able to take a legacy terminal emulation application that ran our warehouse and turn it into something that was more touch-centric. Still running terminal emulation, but you know, I think the numbers are pretty telling. You know, we were able to see an overall gain in productivity, about 15 to 20%, which was significant. But a couple of surprising attributes to that were that we were able to reduce the error rates. And the way that we were able to do that was to be able to pop up a context, or I should say a purpose-driven keyboard. For example, if working within an application and you have to answer a question, you know, do you want to continue, yes or no? Normally on a legacy device, you had to hunt for the yes or no key and find it and press it and continue. With the more modern interfaces, we can just pop up a big old yes button and a big old no button right on the screen. So there's no, you know, there's incremental improvements, you know, to eliminate mispressed keys, for example, to do that. And it also resulted in higher typing speed, which I found astounding personally. But if you think about it, the way we use our devices today, it's a non-indexed touch-centric keyboard, and the majority of the users can type on that keyboard without having to look at it, which, you know, I personally still find surprising. But at the end of the day, it's more in line with the way that we're used to interacting with technology. So again, you know, by being able to give the user a tool in the way that they expect the tool to behave is you know, enhances productivity overall. And there are measurements that we can, and metrics we can take a look at to look at the improvements. You know, we've got a lot of ways that we can work together in order to be able to make sure that our customers are well committed and well resourced to be able to make these transitions going forward. You know, and you know, when we look at this, you know, we like to sell gadgets. You know, we sell solutions. Your customers buy solutions, and then what, right? We have to think about what it takes in order to be able to deploy these devices and keep them secure and make sure that the customers protect their investment. You know, we as sellers want to make sure that we have a way to have a very sticky, cohesive relationship with the customers, and do so in a way that's profitable for both of us. And when we look at what it is that Zebra can do and Zebra can provide, it's really about providing that different experience, and providing that experience in such a way that you can't get that same experience with a consumer device or even one of our competitive devices. We're really about providing very deep technical advantage within the platform itself that makes that stickiness happen, that makes the customers want to say, I have to have a Zebra device, I have to buy through Barcodes. Because you're able to help them understand what those differences are. And a lot of those differences, now that we've got a modern platform that we can deliver these applications on, let's look at ways that we can do more with that device once we have it in the hands of the end user. We enhance that platform, something you may have heard referred to as our mobility DNA. And these are number one, things I can't cover in the entirety of a 30-minute conversation, but these are things that could be levered in order to be able to add additional value. And I'll just touch on one for example. For example, unified communications. What if I can now take a mobile computer that I've got in the hands of the user and turn that into what's in a sense a good walkie-talkie? I can do that with Workforce Connect PTT Pro. More on that possibly at a later time, but again, I just wanted to give you a flavor of a lot of the things that we can add on top of it. We know that customers make investment in technology for the long haul, right? We know that they cannot tolerate continued OS updates like you can tolerate in your consumer device. And we also know that we have to have a way to protect the ecosystem, the mobile ecosystem that's deployed in an environment, because fact of the matter is vulnerabilities are not going away. We have to make sure that we have a proactive stance in place to be able to not only provide a secure environment for the ecosystem that we're deploying for our customers, but also protect that ecosystem for the long haul. Something you can't do with a consumer device. Typically they're made to live 36 months in the field and then no more support or no more upgrades. Our customers buy this for the long haul. They buy it to be able to use it for anywhere from 3 to 5 years or even beyond, and we have to protect that. And if you look at again, there's a link at the bottom of the page here for a very cohesive study on device security. But if you look at mobile devices overall, Department of Homeland Security did a study on this, and there's a lot of ways that a mobile device can be impacted. At the end of the day, in order to be able to mitigate a lot of those risks, to prevent you from having to read 120 pages of Homeland Security reports, here's the summary. Security really is concern number one with a lot of customers that are out there. We need to make sure that we provide them with a secure environment, and we have to make sure that we provide a series of patches or access to patches that when vulnerabilities get exposed, they have something in place that they can patch those devices are. More importantly, when customers are making decisions to procure devices, they need to seek a clear commitment from the vendors that security updates will be provided in a timely manner. And that's what we at Zebra do. There's a program called Lifeguard, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Think of it as something that you get as part of a Zebra One Care maintenance agreement. And finally, Department of Homeland Security recommends that when a device is no longer supported with updates, enterprises should decommission those devices. Hence kind of a follow-up to the point that we made early on, that when a device is no longer supported, get rid of it. Because of vulnerabilities that are coming into play. And we address the long-term viability of a product through Lifeguard. And basically it provides a series of benefits that we will provide security patches for the device, for the entire life cycle of that device, and even beyond. So even if we take a device and announce its end of sale, we will continue to provide security patches for a period of 24 months beyond end of sale for that. And if a customer chooses to go longer than that, they can purchase long-term options to extend that up to the end of service life of a product. This is really unheard of in the marketplace. And there is no consumer platform, no competitive platform that's out there that really thinks about the entire life cycle of an investment that your customers make. So when we combine, security and thinking about the investments that your customers make, that's where LifeGuard really comes into play. So it's an entitlement to OS and patch updates. It is included as part of a Zebra One Care maintenance agreement. Again, a big value for your customers going forward. And I know this is kind of a lot to stuff to kind of think about and consume in a short amount of time, but we need to help our customers understand that change is inevitable and it's going to happen, and really to make sure that we position our customers in order to be able to be successful and continue to be successful in the markets that we serve. We have to help guide them along with the change. So as we think about these things going forward, we really need to think about what it is that we can do to help keep our customers informed and up to date as far as the changing ecosystem and marketplace. So, Mariah, back to you. That was a lot in 25 minutes. I just wanted to see if you got any questions on the con or anything like that. So,
well, great job, Kevin.
thanks.
It does look like we have a few questions that came in. Somebody asked, what is Zebra's strategy for Windows devices past 2020? And will Zebra support these devices past the time Windows does?
That's an awesome question. And so come 2020, it's not going to be like it's not going to be like a Y2K scenario, and the world's not going to go dark or anything like that. We will still continue to provide break fix support for those devices. If customers got a service contract, we can fix it. The challenge is going to be when it comes to operating system updates. There are going to be no more security updates, no more patches, no more no more things to consider when it comes to how do I address a vulnerability in a Wi-Fi stack. You can't. So if you think about some of the vulnerabilities that have been coming across recently, like crack. It was a vulnerability in Wi-Fi stack. Not a part of the operating system, but every single device that had Wi-Fi radio was impacted by it. iOS, Android, whatever, Windows 10, they had to have patches for it. Windows Mobile, Windows CE ain't gonna get the patches.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. It looks
Sure.
like there's another question.
Yeah.
Is there any chance or indication Windows will reverse course at the last minute?
Oh, if I could have a crystal ball when it came to Microsoft. That's a great question, and that's a big unknown. If you look at what Microsoft did back in October of last year when they said we're not going to do any Windows 10 stuff anymore, or I should say Windows 10 mobile stuff anymore, that was a big shock to the market. If you look at one of our biggest competitors, who was a big Windows 10 proponent, they basically reversed course in a matter of 2 weeks and said, we're all in on Android now. It's really hard to say. I wish I had, like I said, I wish I had a crystal ball on that one, but indications are that they won't. And let me tell you why. If you look at their strategy over the last couple of years, it's all been about providing a Microsoft experience, regardless of the device that you have on your hand. It all started when they put Microsoft Office on an iPad. It was pretty telling. Now that they have a Microsoft experience on Android and iOS or whatever, the OS to them becomes irrelevant. Last I looked on the App Store, on the Windows Store, right? Or I'm sorry, Play Store, Microsoft published over 108 different applications, everything from Microsoft Business Dynamics to Skype to whatever that ran on an Android platform. In 2016, Microsoft made over $6 billion in licensing revenue on getting their applications to run on other platforms. So, they got a big cash cow there that's making them more money than the mobile operating system itself. So, if I were a betting man, I would bet that they don't.
Well, thank you for your answer, Kevin.
Sure.
And thank you again for presenting all this information on the OS migration. It doesn't look like we have any more questions in, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Please reach out via phone, or you can email our marketing manager, Lauren Amalia, at lmalia@barcodesinc.com if you have any questions. Again, thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.